Great. Thank you very much. Well, I'm sorry Chairman Capito is not here because she knows how much I love this committee because we get to talk about biofuels all the time, and that's one of my favorite topics, and I know it's one of hers as well. Mr. Donahue, one of your primary responsibilities as General Counsel is implementing the agency's statutory obligations. I think Senator Merkley you were referring that to as well when you were responding back as the General Counsel. You'll give the advice to the agency with regard to what they're supposed to be doing to follow the law. One of those laws, the Renewable Fuel Standard, very clearly mandates periodic rulemakings for the renewable volume obligations. This is something where the last administration failed to comply with the law. In June of 2022, the Biden administration published retroactive rulemakings in 2020, 2021, and 2022 that underprotected biofuel volumes by billions of gallons. The 2023 RVOs were published a year later, too late in the year for producers or the fuel markets to adjust. The 2026 RVOs were due November 2024, but won't actually be published until December 2025. Again, the last administration failed to follow the law. Mr. Donahue, if you're concerned, how do you plan to comply with the clear statutory directives outlined in the Renewable Fuel Standard to provide timely, reflective RVOs?
Senator, thank you for raising this, as you did, of course, in our meeting a couple weeks ago. As Lee Zeldin, the administrator, has indicated, fixing it from the agency side is a priority for the administration, and things are in progress there. In my role, if confirmed as General Counsel, I will ensure that the office provides the best, again, legal advice in this matter. But again, as I think you may be leading to, a congressional fix may be appropriate here.
Well, the congressional fix is more like on the E15, but the law is already out here, Mr. Donahue, on what the EPA is supposed to be doing with regard to their obligations on the RVOs and getting those published in a timely manner. What I'm asking you is, will you give the administration, the EPA, the advice that they need to follow the statutory RVOs and do it in a timely manner as the law prescribes?
We will follow the law, Senator, yes.
Great, that's what I wanted. General Nesvik, congratulations on your nomination. After the last 4 years, the Interior Department stands to benefit greatly from your experience as a Brigadier General. And few people understand federal land management agencies better than Westerners. As Governor of Nebraska, I hear about NEPA compliance issues relating to the Endangered Species Act implementation for critical energy infrastructure and other development projects. As Senator, I hear about these same issues. The Fish and Wildlife Service plays a critical role in implementing the Endangered Species Act, especially through the statute of Section 7 authorities. Considering your experience in Wyoming as Game and Fish Director, how can Congress, and you mentioned this a little bit, how can Congress empower state and local stakeholders to play a more active role in Section 7 consultations with Fish and Wildlife?
Well, thank you, Senator. So certainly Section 7 has a real purpose and meaning, and I think it was a good piece of law, or a good portion, a good component of the Endangered Species Act when it was enacted back in 1975. I do think there are some opportunities to be more prompt and timely in the way that Section 7 consultations are completed. I look forward to being able to look and analyze exactly what processes are in place. I appreciate yesterday you shared with me some of the tools and techniques that you were able to use when you were governor. So things like that are different tools that I want to evaluate and look at to improve not only Section 7, but all permitting. There's a lot of permitting that the Fish and Wildlife Service is responsible for. And there's also some opportunities, I think, too, with simplifying regulations.
Great. Thank you, General. And then, Ms. Kramer, Senator Kramer had talked to you a little bit about waters of the U.S. Obviously, this is a big deal for Nebraska as well. You know, the Clean Water Act mentions navigable waters 50 times, so Congress's intent could not have been more clear about what waters the EPA has responsibilities for. We talked a little bit about, you mentioned it about landowners, but specifically, can you talk to me a little bit about agricultural producers and other development industries, and how will they benefit from President Trump's WOTUS rulemaking?
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator. I I think so to take it from the beginning, sorry, it's two parts to your question. I want to make sure that I hit them both. I think to the extent that we're talking about navigable, you're right. It is said extensively through the Clean Water Act. And as a very helpful point, now we have Sackett to give us a little bit more flavor on the bones of how extensive that reach can be. And so looking forward to every stakeholder having the opportunity to provide extensive public comment as we work through the process. And once we get to the point of kicking off a rulemaking, it is vital that we hear the voices of agriculture. These are the folks that feed our country. These are the folks that ensure that we have an available food supply that makes it so that grocery prices do not eat up an entire paycheck. And so it is vital that as we walk down the process of coming up with a clear and definitive and durable rulemaking, that they have a seat front and center at the table to ensure that while we are following the mandates of the Clean Water Act, we also are doing so in a way that does not prohibit and preclude the growth of food for our nation.
Great.